welcome to the IdeaGen Global Summit here at ACS Athens Live in Athens, Greece. I am so honored to have with me today Basilio Petkides. Basilios, welcome.
Honored to be here, George.
What a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Especially a pleasure because of all that you're doing and that you're an AHEPA brother. Tell us a little bit about AHEPA as we start this interview.
Well, about AHEPA in Greece or in Europe?
In Greece, globally, wherever you'd like. Your experience.
My experience. AHEPA is a very romantic issue for me. Growing up, because as you already know, I grew up in Panama. So we lived and saw a lot of the things that happened to immigrants coming over from Greece. And I think that AHEPA has played a very important role in disseminating or closing the gap between the U.S. and Greece and helping promote Hellenism, not only in the U.S., but also throughout Europe and sometimes even within Greece.
Incredible.
So, yeah, I think AHEPA is doing an important job here in Greece and in Europe. We are doing a lot of work, a lot of philanthropy work. Our organization, just District 25, which is the Hellenic district, over the last 2 years has raised about €1 million in value of various different projects, from reforestation to burn unit in the Evangelismos Hospital, and now the emergency rooms for the cardiological department in the AHEPA hospital in Thessaloniki.
And you've served also in leadership roles with AHEPA, right?
Yes, yes.
Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, leadership roles in AHEPA have to do with being able to motivate volunteers, motivate people through what actually touches them in order to be able to get things done.
That's right.
And in AHEPA, one of the ways that we do things is through numbers. So we've had to grow. So we've done that at a district level, which is throughout all of Greece. We've done that at a regional level by creating chapters with the Greeks abroad that live in Germany, that live in France, that live in the UK, that live in Holland, and so forth. And we've done that as well in Cyprus. We've had a lot of growth in Cyprus as well, especially with last year being the 50-year anniversary of the Turkish invasion into Cyprus. And AHEPA has done a lot of work to advocate a lot of the issues that Greece has been involved with.
Well, Basilio, you've had all of these experiences in leadership. You were born in Panama. You were raised in Panama. An incredible experience, and that you just alluded to. And that has really shaped who you are today, right? As the CEO of Mediterranean Gas. And I'd like to talk a little bit more in depth about that. What is it like being the CEO of Mediterranean Gas? I mean, what does that mean? What is that like every day for you?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I think what it means is that you have to be motivated to get every day up and to be able to push forward another step, because Mediterranean Gas is a particular project, which is a development project. It's a storage project for LNG in the Pagasetic Gulf. It is a project which is going to help improve the energy security, not only of Greece, but of the region. And we need infrastructure in order to be able to achieve that. So we see today that the transmission system operator in Greece, DESFA, has been investing in upgrading and in growing the transmission system in order to be able to cover not only Greece's needs, but also the needs in the Balkans and Southeastern Europe. Today, actually, these last couple of weeks, we've had a bundling of pricing of all the countries from here all the way to Ukraine in order to be able to provide gas. And that is the first step to improving and making gas transmission a lot more efficient. Until today, you had to go to every single country in order to be able to do that. So when you're looking at being a CEO of a project of this nature, you're looking at all these different facets, and you're always trying to put that huge puzzle together. And obviously you can't do that alone. You have to have people that are supporting there. You
Sure.
have to people that you can lean on in order
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
That you can trust.
That you can trust. So and I think that motivating these people to trust you to lead them is a key factor.
Well, and I think your background has prepared you, it really uniquely prepared you. Your international background, your global perspective, all the things that you've done have led to this point. You know, it's rare that someone steps into a leadership role by accident. That's my take based on the thousands of interviews I've conducted. You don't just step into a leadership role. So as we talk about that, I'd like to get into your psyche about leadership, to ask you, what does leadership mean to you? What is it? How do you define it?
Leadership to me means actually defines the success of specific objectives or a scope. Leadership can destroy an organization or it can make it grow. Leadership is the alpha and omega of making progress. You can have a lot of good people on a team. You can have the best, you could have the all-stars on an NBA team.
Yeah.
But if you cannot lead them to work together, to combine all that talent, to create one product, you're not going to make it to the NBA finals and win that.
You need the chemistry, you need the leader, you need all of that,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
You need that whole team setup. And I think that's what I was alluding to, is the fact that your varied experiences, your successes along the way, and your understanding of cross-sector collaboration. What you described is you have the bundling of the pricing for LNG, and it's creating stability and the ability to deliver consistently, right, across countries.
Right.
And so why would you say cross-sector collaboration is so important? Across government, across industry, across, all of the things that we see.
Okay. Let me take a step back.
Yeah.
Success comes also through failure. And we've seen failure many, many times. And we need to learn from that, whether it's our failure or the failure of our predecessors or the failure of the world around us. So collaborating through cross sectors helps us learn from these failures in order to avoid that and to be able to be successful.
And so should a future global leader, someone who's just starting their career, should they fear failure?
No, on the contrary, you need to embrace failure. You need to embrace stress. You need to embrace being uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, then you're never going to be a leader. One of the most challenging parts, and one of the things that AHEPA helps us as members in the organization while we're growing with the organization, is we learn about leadership as well. And one of the lessons that I learned through this was when I was district governor, having to sit there listening to all my different VPs and all the members of that board either tell me what I did wrong, tell me what
you didn't do anything wrong. You did it all right.
You needed to hear what you did wrong. You needed to hear what you didn't do. You needed to hear what you needed to do, and to be silent and really listen, and to have the empathy to understand where everybody's coming from, and then to be able to put all that together and give a response and give guidance and give direction. I hope I wasn't too long-winded.
Oh, you could keep going. I mean, these are critical lessons, especially for future global leaders. As you're thinking about, what is my career going to look like? You're a Florida State Seminole.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you proudly think back to those days, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
Difficult times too.
Right, but at that point, what would you tell your younger self? You're just starting out. I mean, did anyone tell you should embrace failure? You should try, because what you're saying is you should try. Don't fear the potential failure. you at least have to try. You have to show up, right?
Yeah, well, my father was a shipping agent for more than 40 years in Panama with the Panama Canal. So we saw a lot of captains coming through, right? And these captains, they always came with all these different stories. And what they always said, and I remember as a kid listening to them growing up, is that they always said that, look, we're always going to hit a storm. You're not going to, there's no way throughout your career that you're not going to hit a storm. The important thing is that you need to get through that storm and get back at it. When I was in college at Florida State, we had the U.S. embargo to Panama because of Noriega, which meant that we had capital controls, but not like in Greece. In Greece, you were able to extract 60 euros a day. In Panama, if you put money in the bank, you couldn't get it out. The airplanes were paying their landing fees in briefcases to the Panamanian government back then. And I was at Florida State, so I had no funds. So I had to get a job. I was allowed to work at the Florida State Law Library part-time.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
And that's the way I made ends meet. There
what
was
a life lesson.
no other way to do that.
Right.
But you just keep on pushing through.
You figure it out.
You have the storm. You have the storm, and you have to do what you have to do.
You know, it's funny. There's a quote, and I can paraphrase it, by Aristotle Onassis, who said something to the effect of, and you've probably heard it: we must learn to accept that the sea will never rest.
Correct.
And sail in high seas. You've probably heard that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's a great analogy to what you just said, because it's so incredibly inspiring. And so what's next for you in Mediterranean Gas? What do you see in the horizon? You're helping to create this incredible project. What's next?
Well, hopefully, we need to get to FID. So this is a very complex project because it has to do with geopolitics. It has to do with what the EU is going to decide. We've seen the policy make in the EU have mandated that the Russian gas is going to stop flowing. So we need to understand the dynamics of the market, the capacity that's required. We believe that today we have Alexandroupoli, a terminal. We have the FSRU in Alexandroupoli. I believe that there's a need for a third one, which is us. And that is in the phase right now where the market dynamics are making that clear. So we believe that the demand is going to be there, and hopefully we'll be able to make that project move forward. Yeah.
Incredible. And if there's anyone that can do it, it's you. With your leadership.
I hope so.
Basilio, that's key, is your leadership and the resiliency and the leadership skills you've just shared with us today. No one in the position to be able to do it beyond you. In terms of lessons, I'd like to close this interview to really inspire your sharing with our global audience, the millions of people that will watch this interview. What are 3 key lessons you have learned in your incredible journey, your lifetime journey, that have the potential to change the world?
Never give up on hope, number 1. As long as we are alive and breathing and kicking, we can always make a change. We can help the world change. 2, like I said earlier, we need to embrace our fears. We need to look at failure as learning experiences. I wish in academia there was a course on failure, because if we had that, I think a lot of young adults, a lot of young professionals would benefit so much from this. Because failure is something that entrepreneurs usually deal with. But there are doctors, there are accountants, there are all sorts of industries and professions out there that need that. And I think the third and most important part or lesson for me throughout the years is the value of family. because the value of family is the foundations on which your ethos is built on. And all I can hope is that I can pass that on to my daughters the way that my parents passed it on to me.
Legacy.
Yes.
Basilio Petkides, leadership divine, my friend. You are leadership defined. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, George.